Hey everybody, Mark from Circle of the Dark Mother. A dear friend of mine suggested doing a video on dream interpretation. It's not going to be a video that tells you exactly how to interpret your dreams, but some ideas that hopefully should help. So dreams. Dreams can have two sources. The first is the subconscious processing of experiences, or it can be a product of a spiritual movement. Sometimes a combination of these two can occur. Often our subconscious mind hasn't processed something that has happened, even years in the past. I personally have dreams about my first marriage, even 20 years after our divorce. When a spiritual based dream occurs, there's still an element of the subconscious involved. The imagery used to explain and explore the spiritual energy is manifested in symbols and events that the subconscious mind can process. Because of this, there is no one size fits all dream analysis. There are symbols that are common to most people, but it still varies. Subconscious dream interpretation. As stated in the previous slide, symbols vary to everyone. So everyone has to be in charge of their own interpretation, but I can give some helpful ideas. First, look at the characters in the dream. Who do they represent? They may have names you are familiar with or not. Sometimes a dream character will actually be someone different than the name they have. Second, what are the circumstances of the dream? Is it pleasant, frightening, some kind of unresolved situation? Many times we dream of things that are difficult to process, either stress, relationships, fears, or wishes. Once you identify these areas, you can usually come to a pretty good idea of what your dream is about. And then from there, it's trying to understand, why are you stressed? What about the relationship? What is your fear? What is your wish? And then you can start to process it. As I said, though, sometimes these can take years for your subconscious to completely process. Spiritual dream interpretation. When interpreting spiritual dreams, you still follow a similar process as with the subconscious dream, the only difference being the addition of spiritual imagery and messaging. I can usually tell when a dream has a spiritual component because it's not the pure chaos of my subconscious. There's more of a flow and a focus that has some kind of a meaning. Once you determine that a dream is spiritual, then it's important to try to determine what entity may be speaking to you through your dream. It is often one you are working with already or have a connection to. If not, look into your spiritual tradition and determine what entity fits. The next important determination is, what are they trying to communicate? This sometimes can be more complicated than you would think because these messages are often symbolic and not direct. So it can take some time, meditation, and exploration to make sense of the meaning. An example. When I do dream analysis for myself, I follow the steps outlined in the previous slides. Most of my subconscious dreams are about stress I feel around my job or relationships. Those are really easy to figure out because they are almost comically similar every time. For instance, I have a series of dreams that are all about my job and being late for work or not knowing where I'm supposed to go, or obviously work stress. Because I'm a Gnostic Kabbalist who works with Lilith, I use these paradigms when looking at my dreams. So you may need to use a different paradigm. If you're Wiccan, if you're Luciferian, whatever your paradigm is, look into the symbols of that tradition. I start with the assumption that the entity speaking to me is Lilith, but if that doesn't seem correct, I search for other possible beings that I work with or have a tangential relationship with. So that being said, usually, as I said, it's Lilith. Sometimes, though, it could be an angelic presence. It can be a darker presence. It can be one of Lilith's children. I also work a little bit with Welsh witchcraft, so it could be an entity from that tradition. Could be I'm a Gnostic, so but I can usually tell by the paradigm. But I start with, is it Lilith? Because that's who's usually talking to me. For the meaning of the dream, I look at the symbology of the tree of life with the spheres and paths to help make sense of what I'm seeing. And that's because I think Kabbalistically, because that's my tradition. So, what colors are present? How do they link to the spheres? What is the flow of energy? Does that link to the paths of the tree? What are the archetypical figures in the dream? It usually takes a bit of contemplation, meditation to come to the full meaning of any dream. But with spiritual dreams, because the symbology fits usually the paradigm we work in, it can be a little easier to make sense of it because you've got these symbols are all around you in the practice you do, in the studies you do, in the way you work. Hopefully that's helpful and good luck interpreting your dreams. Take care.